Oh, I'm starting?
No, I'm starting.
Yeah, I thought you're hosting.
Guys, I can't believe how close it is to Christmas. This is
No, it's wild.
Like December 13th, 14th, 15th, we're watching this, we're doing small groups.
Yeah.
And man, time hasn't flown in COVID, but
No.
for some reason December is going quickly.
It's speeding up.
It's speeding up. Hey, welcome everyone to Chris's Christmas Corner. I'm glad it's still Christmas Corner for like another week.
Yeah.
And we are reflecting on the teaching from Sunday. No worries if you didn't hear it, but it is available. You can watch Alita's amazing message on YouTube and whatever other platforms we got going on.
Right.
And we just want to take some time to reflect on the points that hopefully guide you in continued conversation around these thoughts.
So Alita was speaking on the story of the angels appearing to the shepherds. And they appear to the shepherds who were kind of the outcasts of society, weren't really included in the religious establishment, didn't really go to temple, yet God kind of invites them into the center of his story through this angelic visitation. And the angels say to them, we have got good news of great joy. And Alita made some cool distinctions. She talked about the difference between good advice and good news, right? Good advice is about something you do, but the good news of Christianity is about something God has done and something God is doing that we're invited to be a part of. And then she made a distinction between happiness and joy. Like happiness is what happens when things go your way. It's deeply tethered to circumstances being favorable. But joy is this thing that's deeper and more rooted, and that's in the Lord. And so she kind of introduced those distinctions, and I want to just kind of lean into for a moment this distinction between happiness and joy.
Yeah, I remember there was a couple moments when I've heard that teaching in my life, and it was really, I would say it was life-changing. It was this reality where I understood that what we have in God can anchor us through whatever we're facing. So there can be this sense of like, life is good even when life doesn't feel good or isn't good practically. It's like because we have this hope and we have someone we can hold on to who's never leaving, no matter what pandemic we're facing or whatever else. But then I also found myself, even this week, as I think about the teaching, reflecting on the reality that it's one thing to say, joy is an anchor and it's not just about happiness, it's about something deep. Then it's like, but how do I tap into that?
Right.
Because I think the thing we want to talk about in small groups, or one thing is like, we want to actually hash this out. Like my bro-in-law Bryce is always awesome at like pushing past like Christian cliches and going, it's great to say these things, but what does it mean at work, in family, in day to day? It's like we got to talk about that. And I guess I want to talk with you for a minute, because like how do we do it? How do we tap into joy? How do we discipline our lives to actually remember that there's reason to be joyful? And I guess, how do we be joyful even when things aren't?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that like the human soul is big enough to include both sorrow and joy at the same time. And so even when we talk about joy, we're not talking about like a lack of reasons to be even sad or sorrowful. But I think for me, like joy is a choice, which is another thing I think we say. But it is a choice, and I know sometimes we say, well, easier said than done, but everything in life doing is easier said than done, right? And so I think it's a choice for me about where I direct my gaze and where I ground my worth. And so for me, joy is spelled Jesus, that I need to choose to constantly rehearse in my heart who he is and what he's done and what he's doing in me and all around me. And another thought I had was around this idea of community and this call to mourn with those who mourn, but also rejoice with those who rejoice. So if I choose to rejoice with those who rejoice, if that's a real thing in my life and I'm connected with people, it means there's always reason to rejoice, even if things are hard for me.
Right.
And the only way I do that is if I kind of kill off like envy and comparison and jealousy as an enemy to joy in my own life.
Right.
And so those are some thoughts that I had around like this choice to be joyful.
Yeah, I love that. I think really similar to that. I think I find myself joyful as I get my attention off of myself, which I think is what you're referring to. It's like more and more ability to focus on whether it's others. It's like even focusing on others in in things where they're going through that are difficult, there's an ability to be like, man, God's given me purpose and I'm here for someone else, not just myself. And then when others are rejoicing, it's an opportunity to like enter into that, to get perspective. But that's a real discipline to do that. Like, I think it's pretty easy to be consumed with self. And then I also think about that song, we sing it in church all the time, God, I look to you, I won't be overwhelmed.
You should sing it and not say it.
You should sing
If Daryl was here, he would sing it.
You should sing it, Chris.
God, I look to you.
Yep.
You're where my help comes from.
Yeah, there's that line too.
This is the best part. Give me vision.
Yeah.
See things like
Give me vision. That's the key.
You have to.
You got it. You got
Right,
it.
that's good.
And I love that song. And I think the thing about that song is that I love is that it's not just something we sing Sundays. I think that's the prayer.
Yeah.
I think that's what we need to pray as a discipline is, okay, God, help me see things the way you see things.
That's
because
good.
when we see things the way he sees them, it's able to instill joy. But I just recognize like it's not enough to sing it, at Bethel Conference every few years. It's got to be like, no, I got to sing that or say that like a daily.
Right.
It's a discipline to go, help me see things the way you see things. And as I do, I'm able to operate with joy no matter what things look like in front of me. And so that's been key for me.
So there's this good news of great joy. And then Alita talked about how it was for all people, where there's something there to discuss. I think we love that idea because it seems really inclusive, which is a cultural value. All peoples, all walks of life, all ethnicities. But there's also a challenge in there that I'd love you to wrestle with as a group. All people means people who've hurt us and betrayed us and broken our trust. There's a repentance and faith part that comes with this. But still, right, if that person who broke my trust repents, trusts, they're welcomed in. And so there's a real challenge. Sometimes I think we trick ourselves into believing we're more gracious than God, but we're really not. And so there's a tension there. But Alita also mentioned that the good news, the shepherds are brought into the story. They're given good news of great joy for all people, and they don't keep it to themselves. They share it, which I think is a good segue into even what's happening Christmas Eve.
Yeah, 100%. I think that one thing I think about with that is like, it's all people shepherds, so it's everyone. No one's forgotten. God is not impressed by the things that impress us.
Right. And
then, which is such a good reminder.
Yeah.
And then also though, it's all people, the people that I think when we're thinking about inviting to Christmas Eve, it's also for the people that we go, oh, they would never say yes.
Right.
Or, oh, trust me, they would never go to church. And I think for me, that's really challenging to remember all people. Yeah, it includes the shepherds, whatever that means in our context. Right. But it also includes the ones who are like, oh, well, they seem kind of past church or they would never go to church.
Right.
And I think we need to expand our vision around all people and go, God, help me not write anyone off in any sort of way. And so we want to encourage you, that it is a great segue. Invite people to Christmas Eve.
Yeah, there's a lot of services happening. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 11 o'clock. There is a service. So we're excited to invite people. Right now, I've got a family that lives above me, and then our next door neighbors we're friends with. There's real relationship. It feels like there's a cost of creating awkwardness, but I'm working up the courage right now to invite them to Christmas Eve, and I'm going to do it. I have to now. I've said it on Chris's Corner, so I'm committed now. So we'd encourage you to do it. Yeah,
we'll ask you about it next time or something like that.
Oh man.
I want to say too that if you want, we've printed physical cards that have information about Christmas Eve, and so if you want, we'll put the address up 1529 West 6th. If you want to come pick up physical invite cards, they have room for you to just write a note to a neighbor or a friend, and they're one way of inviting people. We also have a link to online invitations and all that. So we want to make it really accessible for you to be able to invite people.
Yeah, so just go to thewaychurch.ca, and we're going to throw to discussion leaders now. There's a lot to unpack, a lot to talk about tonight, and so enjoy your discussions.